教えて、リンドーちゃん。はい、リンドです。
The term osana najimi is no stranger to the veteran weeb. In fact, it stimulates the prediction gland of your average romance, harem, rom-com, sometimes even drama, anime readers or anime watchers, manga readers, light novel readers, and all that. It triggers their prediction gland as to already root out or figure out or break down as to who the main protagonist of that story would end up with, who would the main character choose as the best girl. And most case scenario, most likely, most of the time, is definitely not the childhood friend. And I find it to be a really interesting trope, a really interesting concept that in a lot of anime, right, it has been incorporated in a lot of anime series, manga, light novel, a lot of works. This particular trope and how it really shines, it shines well as to how anime has portrayed it. And there's a lot of opinions about it as well, so I'm just gonna break that down. So what is an osana najimi? Osana najimi basically or essentially means, roughly translated to, or is translated to, childhood friend. Now, a childhood friend is this trope of a character trope used in a lot of romances or harems, dramas, in which it is a person who is closely related or closely linked towards the main protagonist of a particular story. In fact, it is one of the most caring and really, in theory, the closest person that you can ever get to have rather as a lifetime partner, if especially in a lot of these dramas, right, or a lot of these works and series, for instance, right. If you look at it closely, these characters, these childhood friend characters, they grew up with the main protagonist, and they basically know almost everything about them. She cares for the main protagonist. She knows how all his quirks, his good points, his bad points, and for that reason, there's no so good. There's gonna be feelings that this childhood friend trope would grow towards the main protagonist. And yeah, because of that reason, I feel like childhood friends are innocent, or in theory should be the main girl, the main catch of the to the heart of the main protagonist. In fact, the main heroine rather. But then you have a lot of these shows, a lot of these works, which takes that trope and essentially puts it in second place, and puts it in second place in a sense that I care for you, but I don't, my heart wants to be with this other person, and that other person being, I don't know, the transfer student, some other girl who made a bigger impression towards the main protagonist, all sorts of reasons. But the point is that the childhood friend trope is essentially one that has been rejected, or is the rejected type of character. And Japanese animation, or Japanese works rather, a lot of even Western works as well. I'm not saying that it's only exclusive to Japan, but stories, right? In stories in general, not in general, but of course some would have childhood friends to be the winner, right? In anime, let's just say anime, right? In anime, childhood friends are usually depicted as the ones who will not end up together with the main protagonist. And this is also clearly in line with the whole debacle with the short-haired girl. Short-haired heroine is not going to be the one who ends up with the main protagonist. That's a topic that I'll discuss later on. But I want to dive deep into childhood friends first. Now, I made a video about this anime that released last season. I think it was Osamake, the rom-com where the childhood friend won't lose. Yeah, it was frustrating. If you haven't checked it out, I made a review about it, and I'll probably link the description down below if you want to check it out. But essentially, what Osamake did with the whole childhood friend trope is that, it's still a win. Not to spoil it a bit much, but all main heroines are indeed childhood friends of the main protagonist. What's his name again? The guy who was voiced by Soiharo. Yeah, that's his the main character, Soiharo. Then you have him being in this harem situation with three other childhood friends. There's different types of childhood friends. There's the type who was little sister figure type of childhood friend. You have the I don't really know how to describe it well, but childhood friend as someone that you played with before, and childhood friend. The third one is in the series, right? In the series, the third one is the childhood friend who cares for you, or who has took great care of you throughout your time of sadness, depression, and going through a rough state. So basically, the childhood friend who acts like this big sister mother figure to the main protagonist. And yeah, Osamake, a lot of times I'm a bit frustrated to the way that it has taken these things. But all in all, right, I feel like there is still not gonna be any clear winner. I'm not so sure with the manga. Anime wise, a lot of people have different feelings, different speculations, of course, as to who would truly end up with the main protagonist. But yeah, childhood friend, right? The era of childhood friends, and the way that it really sticks out, right? It really sticks out and wants to target itself as the person or the character who ends up with the main protagonist. A lot of animes depict this as they would end up with the main protagonist, and some do not, or most do not, and some do, right? But the thing is, when I come to understand the childhood friend trope, as I've said before, it's in theory it should be the perfect type of character who's fitting for the main protagonist. But feelings change, a lot of plot points, plot devices, plot twists for that matter, are being used, elements in the story that change the perspective, the mindset of the main protagonist into thinking that, maybe the childhood friend isn't really, who I love, but in my heart I really do love this other person. It's just weird, but I suppose there's nothing wrong with that at all. In fact, I really, if that's what you truly feel, there's no point in me stopping. It's going for your feelings. In fact, that's essentially what dating is all about, or relationship is all about, right? If you have an uncertainty within you, it's better to make clear, or really clear out all your feelings, and just be sure of what you want. And in the case of childhood friends, despite the childhood friends having the better, or the upper hand, way bigger upper hand towards for instance, towards having much more knowledge of the main protagonist, being much closer, having closer time, or spending more time with the main protagonist. Despite all that, no, second place, or step down towards being the best girl and give way to the other heroines. But of course, this depends series to series. So the childhood friend is depicted as this character with an upper advantage, or better advantage towards getting the favor, or towards getting the favor towards of the main protagonist. But why do some of these main protagonists, or childhood friends rather, why do these childhood friends become this character that is overlooked, or placed in second place, or left in the dust for all in that sense? Well, as I've said before, a lot of factors, especially towards the main protagonist, his feelings and his uncertainties. It changes through time to the progression of the story in the anime and the manga or light novel. Plot, the progression of the plot, feelings change. But I also feel like, the way that all these najimis or childhood friend characters are being portrayed is that you wanted to give these characters a better chance, a fighting chance towards getting the affection of the main protagonist. But then you also have to make way as well towards these other girls, the other heroines who wanted also gain favor and attention of the main protagonist. But yeah, it's really up to how the different genres of romance or relationship type of series would have that portrayed as such. For instance, in a harem, a classic harem, right? School life scenario, or down to earth school life scenario, childhood friend is usually the one that is being, or noticeably the one who gets rejected, and the best girl rather is the person who is, the person who the main protagonist just met, transfer student, the popular girl, etc., etc., all types of all those things. But there are also some cases where in harems where you have the childhood friend is also a part of, or is on par, right? The childhood friend is on par with having as much affection points, dating some other friends, as much affection points as the rest of the heroines. And that in itself, right? It's a competition as to whether who gets the most affection points, right? That's the whole one of the ideologies of harems in general, is that it's a dating sim type of situation, whichever girl has the most favor, or has the most favor or the most likeness, affection points, then surely that is who the main protagonist would end up with. And a good harem would allow all the heroines to have equal levels. A harem that would choose one best girl would, focus all the attention points as into one particular heroine, in which that main protagonist will get into, will take a liking to. Then you also have your dramas, love triangles and all that. It's one of my most frustrating topics to ever discuss, because frankly speaking, I'm not such a fan of dramas in general. Not generally speaking, but I love me some dramas, right? But it's so as I said, frustrating. It's so frustrating to see such powerful emotions take into play, and the way that it's being seen as something that is hurtful, especially towards the eyes or to this perspective of the one who will be rejected. That hurts. It hurts for many people, but nevertheless, it is still a good spice to a story, a drama. That is what it is. Dramas play with your emotions and gets you really invested towards the characters. A lot of dramas do that as well, and childhood friends, they're no exemption for that. Childhood friends, they can be a part of the fray of a love triangle. Really powerful emotions, and really strong and really troubling dilemmas that the main protagonist has to overcome, has to solve. A really big and heavy choice, rather, you could say. And what am I missing? Rom comedies can be related to harems. In fact, I think, how can I phrase this right? For instance, you have a rom-com where it's, I don't know, two heroines. You have to choose between two heroines, and yeah, from the comedy bit of it, it adds a good old, not as powerfully dramatic as the way drama would do it, but it's still really thought-provoking, and it's still really a big decision to see who the main protagonist would choose from. Wait, let me make it clear. All harems are rom-coms, but not all rom-coms are harems. Wait, is that the term? Okay, you know what? Scratch out everything that I just said. If you do agree with that point, then thank you. I'm getting a bit confused right there. But yeah, essentially, in a lot of romantic comedies, childhood friends, it's still, there's still that that sort of uncertainty within main protagonist to not go for the the childhood friend as the best girl, but rather towards another girl, transfer student, popular girl, as I said before. Same formula, but different in essence, different in the way that each story is being portrayed, and each concept, or each vibe rather, of the setting of the entire story, the entire series for that matter, right? They have different vibes as to how it can be seen as. For instance, you can see a lot of rom-coms depict something as, comedic, but a comedic in a sense where it's like, although the childhood friend is being rejected, she's not gonna give up. She's gonna still find a way to, impress to get the affection of the main protagonist. And then the assuming best girl, right, or the hypothetical best girl, the best girl would acknowledge her as a rival and battle it off, or face it off fair and square and all that. Does that happen? I think it does happen. Some cases, right? In a sense, you can see it happen or fall that way. But yeah, most case scenario, you would find that the main heroine is really, the main heroine is definitely gonna be not necessarily or not always the childhood friend. In conclusion, despite all what anime has portrayed the childhood friend trope as, not all animes, generally speaking, of course, but a lot of those shows wherein the childhood friends don't win. I still feel like the childhood trope is strong. It's a strong character trope. It's really one of the backbones to the main protagonist, in my opinion. The backbone to support the main protagonist into what he does. It acts as emotional support, moral support, the best support you can have, in fact. And it's really just a person who is, someone who's there for you, can be with you, and really the epitome of a, perfect partner, I suppose, in some ways or another. Of course, different opinions here and there, but yeah, childhood friend trope, definitely a good trope. Childhood friends deserve a lot.